everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today I'm talking about the movie Snack Shack. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie yet and you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So, Snack Shack is a coming-of-age comedy film written and directed by Adam Carter Rehmeier, set in the summer of 1991, and involves a pair of teenage friends working at a community pool Snack Shack in Nebraska City. It's semi-autobiographical. It's loosely based on his real life growing up in Nebraska City. As far as what I liked about the movie, overall the cast was great. I really liked Conor Sherry as AJ and Gabriel LaBelle as Moose. I think it's kind of Conor Sherry's first thing, or at least the first thing I've seen him in. But Gabriel was in the Fablemans, which I didn't even recognize him in this because he's just playing such a different character, I guess. But he doesn't look that different. It's mostly on me, I guess. I really like Mika Abdalla as Brooke, the pool lifeguard who kind of like upsets their life and everything. I like the parents, both Gillian Vigman Gillian and David Costabile. Oh, I believe that's the guy who played Gale on Breaking Bad, right? A lot of Breaking Bad stuff in with this. I also like Nick Robinson as Shane. April Clark as Leah. Overall, the cast was pretty solid. Cinematography on this one was by Jean-Philippe Vanier. He worked on Turbo Kid, which I really like Turbo Kid, Summer of '84, and Dinner in America, which was Adam Rehmeier's last movie. Music in this was really good as well. Keegan DeWitt did it. He worked in movies like Hearts Beat Loud, Her Smell, Gemini. I don't know what any of those are, but I like the music in this. And I really like the soundtrack. It's a great soundtrack in this one. It's got Unbelievable by EMF, which they use in the trailer, Age of Consent by New Order, Deeper Shade of Soul by Urban Dance Squad, Someone I Can Talk To by The Limps plays over the end credits. There's actually a song that the one kid, AJ, what's his name? Yeah, AJ is playing when he's cleaning up the shack. That I know the song. I've heard it before, but I couldn't remember what it was, and I didn't want to Shazam it in the middle of the theater, so I didn't. But now I can't figure out what it is, and so hopefully I'll eventually figure it out. But yeah, I really like that song. Throughout, great music. I appreciate it. It wasn't all just specifically songs from '91. Like they mixed it up and used some older songs in there as well, so that was good. Thought it was pretty funny. There's definitely a few scenes that made me laugh out loud. Moose says a lot of funny stuff throughout. Even the idea, again, this is a spoiler review in case I didn't say it earlier. The idea that AJ got upset because he thought Brooke was talking to some other guy, and it turned out that was her brother, like stuff like that. That was all pretty good. The whole fuck dogs thing, which they kind of explained in the trailer as well. And they initially wanted to call the movie that, which was pretty funny, but yeah, good stuff there. I thought, the stuff with the friendship, they seem to have a very realistic and nice friendship. They care about each other. There's even like a scene where when AJ finally kisses Brooke for the first time and Moose sees him and he gets all set and then AJ goes running off after him, which I wouldn't have done that. So yeah, good for them there. And there's actually a lot of stuff too with the AJ guy. Just he does some good physical comedy. There's a part where he kind of like falls down the stairs. It's really good, and all the stuff with like the sneezing and all that I really appreciated as well. I thought overall the story was pretty good. I mean, it's not there's not exactly like well, I guess there's a little bit of a character arc for AJ, if nothing. Moose less so. But yeah, I did like that it's basically just, hey, this is the summer, 1991, 14, like stuff just kind of happens, some of it's connected, some of it isn't. It just kind of does seem to meander a little bit, but so does life, so does summers, especially when you're a kid. I like the setting, and it's set in Nebraska City. That's where Adam Rehmeier, the writer-director, really grew up. So it's kind of based on his life, stuff that he really did and everything. And I'm from Michigan, so I grew up in somewhat of a kind of similar place, and I appreciate that. And I like that it's set in the '90s because I grew up in the '90s. Now I'm a little bit younger than he is. I would have been like 8 in '91, but yeah, and it felt real. It felt realistic. The way the kids talked to each other and interacted with each other, the way they swear all the time and call each other names. She calls him like shit pig, I think. Yeah, that was definitely the kind of stuff me and my friends did a lot. It reminded me a lot of me and my friends, specifically like AJ and Moose. Like my friend Brandon was kind of like Moose, and I was kind of like AJ. Although I was the one who was always hanging out at his house instead of the other way around. But yeah. And I think, in the trailers, they kind of sold this movie as like a super bad type movie or a Project X or whatever type thing. But it's really, a lot of people have said closer to like a Robert Altman type movie or Dazed and Confused or even like a lot of the John Hughes movies from the '80s. And I really appreciated that the parents aren't complete idiots. Like the parents actually seem to be human beings who actually care about their kids, and they actually get some laughs. Like that, I don't know, that auction scene was kind of funny. There's a couple other scenes. There's a scene at the end where the dad gives him a beer that's, nice. Like I like that. I appreciate it because some of these teen movies have a tendency to just write the parents as like cartoons or like either idiots or jerks or whatever, or just antagonists. And in this case, they seem to actually care about their kids. So I like that. As far as what I disliked about the movie, the actors are all too old. I think AJ and Brooke are like 23 in real life. Granted, they probably filmed this movie a year or two ago, so maybe they were a little bit younger. And Moose is 21, who actually I thought looked the oldest of the three, so what do I know? But yeah, it's definitely a little hard to believe like these guys are supposed to be 14. And even like in the trailer, the one guy says 14, the other guy says 16, and I'm like, oh, they're lying about their age to look younger for some reason. No, they're supposed to be 14. And I'm like, okay. And so part of that I think is tied into the fact that okay, these guys are supposed to be 14, which makes sense. It's kind of a time period where you don't have a car exactly, you can maybe get a job, but you can't make that much money. It's kind of the last ending of your childhood in a way. But like Brooke is at least 16, right? She's driving. So like why would this girl want to hang out with these 14-year-old kids? And I realize like she moves around a lot because her dad's in the Marines or whatever. But I don't know. I'm just like, this girl's kind of a loser, isn't she? I mean, one thing it was just the one kid, but she makes out with the other kid too, and she's kind of messing around with them and stuff. And I'm like, why don't you find someone closer to your age? Now, granted, I mean, yeah, when I was younger, I did kind of mess around with older girls and stuff, but I don't know, it just seemed a little weird. And then like they have that one friend who's like 18 or 19 who's hanging out with them. And same thing, I'm like, why is this dude hanging out with these 14-year-olds? And I wasn't quite, he seemed to be a family friend. Maybe he was a cousin or something. I think he was just sort of a family friend. Maybe I missed that, but it's just like, yeah, why is this guy? I remember even thinking like, yeah, he seems like a nice guy. He comes by and he gives the kid, I don't even know what he gave him actually, some kind of bottle of alcohol, firework. I couldn't tell. I thought it was a sandwich at first, but yeah, I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's a nice guy. But I'm like, wait, this guy's kind of a loser in a way. He's like 19, 18, 19. He's, coming back from Gulf Storm and he's hanging out with these 14-year-old kids. Like, I don't know. And then, of course, spoiler, right after that, he died. And then I felt bad. And I was like, well, shouldn't have been thinking about that about this guy. But yeah, it does seem a little odd. Like, I don't know, maybe they could have just made the kids 15 or something, 16, but they just don't have cars for whatever reason, or I don't know. They just seemed a little odd to me. There's definitely a part in the movie where it sounds like she gives him a picture, and it sounds like she said she printed it out last night, and I'm like, you printed out a picture in 1991? You printed out a picture? Like, okay, that's okay, because it doesn't look like it was printed. It looks like it was developed. Like, it's just a weird kind of mistake. Maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe there was a way to print it, or maybe people used to call developing pictures printed, but I don't know. And the stories do just seem a little disjointed. It just seems like they, and I actually read about this a little bit. The director writer said he just took a bunch of stories from his childhood and kind of just tied them all together. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of tied them all together a little bit, but like it does feel a little bit like it's just stuff. Because even like the whole fuck dogs thing, which is, a funny part and a big part of the movie, it just kind of happens just randomly right after Moose and AJ make out and he's all upset and he does it and, some kid. And then it's just like, oh, what's this? I don't know. And I mean, it kind of makes sense in the context of the movie, but it did seem a little like rushed in some ways. Or just like, yeah, the stories are just not really connected. At some point, Brooke's mad at him because of the old brother thing, and then she just gets over it, which again, that is kind of what kids do, when they're that age. But yeah. So, other than that, movie is directed by Adam Carter Rehmeier. Before this, he did Dinner in America. He did some other stuff too, but I haven't seen any of the other stuff. But I really like Dinner in America. That's legitimately like one of my favorite movies I've seen in the last couple of years. Came out in 2020. It's very much like a John Waters kind of meets Napoleon Dynamite with like punk rock. It's really cool. I really, really like that movie. Budget on this one is $4.5 million. Box office, it's made about 300,000 so far, so it's not going to make a ton of money. But hey, that's not what they're there for. Rotten Tomatoes on this one's pretty good. The critics are really liking it, or liking it fairly, I guess, a fair amount, 73%, and the audience is at 93%. So the audience really likes this one. Like I've said a couple times now, it is based on his real life. It's shot in Nebraska. I guess they got a grant. I want to say, I think I read it was like $200,000, but I didn't write down the exact number. So that's useful, I suppose, from just the Nebraska Film Commission or the state of Nebraska or whatever, tourism, I guess. They hung out there before filming. Like, I think they came down for like a week or two before, and like the two main kids got a job at the Shake Shack or at a similar snack shack kind of thing, like working. So yeah, that's cool. It sounds like they had a good time. They hung out and they just kind of told stories and got to be friends. So sounds like a fun experience for them. And it was a good get to get the kid from what do you call it? I can never remember the name. The Spielberg movie, The Fabelmans, because yeah, it was an Oscar-nominated movie. So yeah, good for that. So I really like this movie. I thought it was great. I think it's a new classic up there with like Dazed and Confused or something like that. And I can definitely see this being kind of thing I would watch a lot. And I hope that it does eventually find an audience. I'm sure it will. So yeah, my score on this one's going to be an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. If you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you here again next week.